Hello and welcome back to Learn Faeria. In this video I'll showcase one of my matches from the Pandora deck I drafted for this week's guide. So let's get into the match. So here we have it, my Gabrian green-blue draft deck from Pandora. Looking at this opening hand, I like what I see. Verdurine Force is an awesome creature in the game anyway, but in Pandora I feel he shines even a little bit more. Got great stats for his cost. I keep the Sturdy Shell as well, knowing that I can use it to harvest Faeria along one of the sides, the right or the left. And Tiki Caretaker also offers a buff as well, allowing maybe my Shell to do some damage, or even Verdurine Force to clear a big creature. So I start off with the Sturdy Shell in the middle. I just wanted to get a land in front of my orb in case he was an aggressive deck and just went neutral land straight down the middle, and then I wouldn't have any defenses to set up for next turn. Primeval Colossus I actually think is one of the better late game cards for this mode. I've had situations where Primeval Colossuses have just destroyed me and I just couldn't handle their health totals. Without stuff like Last Nightmare, Frogify, for example, they can be very tough to deal with. But as you can see there, I develop a land on the left hand side, getting that forest end ready to summon the Verdurine Force when I can. And I have the Tiki Caretaker, so I'm pretty certain that the 8 health from that Grizzly isn't going to be enough. Gabrian Warden, again, I think is one of the stronger cards in Pandora mode. It allows you to maybe do a 2-for-1, or allows you to take deal 2 hits to a very powerful creature. And for 7 Faeria, I really like it. I like the stat increase it got, going up to a 4/6. But as you can see there, Sturdy Shell's already on his way to start harvesting that Faeria. And it looks like my opponent had the same idea, using that Tiki Caretaker to buff the Grizzly up. But still, it's not going to be enough. And then Aurora's Teapot hits the field, and it does basically humbling visions to every creature on the board. And now I can move up and clear out the Grizzly with the Tiki Caretaker. So I'm there on neutral lands at the moment, so I want to be able to be a little bit more aggressive with my land placement. Coloured lands don't really allow you to do that because they're a lot slower, but if you use neutrals you can really push up. And there's a dual boots as well, so we all get charge, and we can give one creature on the board charge free, and that happens instantly, so you can have him charge around the field straight away. And I've done some pretty cool stuff with the charge card, some pretty cool clears and stuff like that. So Elderwood Embrace is going to be enough to clear out our poor little Sturdy Shell. No more swimming in the ocean for him. And a Seedling on top of that. So the board is starting to bulk up for my opponent. However, he did use a lot of cards to do this. So harvesting the Faeria first. I could have done that a little differently, actually, now looking back at it. However, this works out as well, and that was a little bug that was in the game, but it was patched out pretty quickly. It was patched out during my stream, but unfortunately we got to see it for this match specifically. But what I could have done there instead is the Verdurine Force could have moved from the tile he was originally on with charge and zipped across and cleared out the Seedling. That was another play that makes charge a really flexible card. So look out for stuff like that when you do get the dual boots in Pandora. So his guys are just zipping around the right side of the board. He uses his charge, trying to go for a clear there in 2 hits. So he's now a free one. Then Garadan's Scale comes on the board and just completely wipes it. And I felt I was in a pretty good position, to be honest. But then I was thinking, let's set up Runin's Champion. And Runin's Champion is a card I've really liked in Pandora because it recharges your hand with additional creatures. And it also gives him a +3/+3 buff. But because I couldn't put him straight in the middle where I set up the Silent Warrior because I wanted to attack with it next turn. I decided to hold off, play the Silent Warrior instead, and then I can move him up and put a forest right next to their orb, and then Runin's Champion can hopefully start getting hits in and getting some value. So that Garadan scale really shook up the board. I felt like I lost a lot more from the scale, but it did kind of reset the initiative because it happened on his on the start of my turn. I was able to play a creature down and restart the game. So there's Gabrian Enchantress, which was a main pick in my draft, and you can see an interaction there. I go for a bit of a misplay here. Instead of just going for face with 6 damage, I decided to clear the Oaklin out. I could have played this more aggressively, but I was a little concerned with the 2 neutral lands he put in front of my orb, and I should have went face there. I should have pushed 6 damage, I think, and let the Oaklin run into me, but I didn't do it. I mean, one thing I could have been playing around there is Tiki Caretaker or any other buff cards, and then he could have two-shotted my Silent Warrior, but I think just pushing face there would have been better. So now he has his own Runin's Champion, which is an 8/11, and Yak Attack's picked up. Yak Attack's really powerful, I think, in Pandora. It can harvest Faeria, it can help you clear the board. And you will get a lot of Faeria once Pandora unlocks. You'll be getting 6 per turn, so you can play Yak Attack within 2 turns. So now I'm trying to work out what to do this turn. I've only got 4 Faeria. Gabrian can't harvest any. She needs to move twice to get anywhere. So I could use Charge to gather Faeria and then use the wheel and play Runin's Champion, but the problem is I have an 8/11 just staring me down, and it's a little troublesome, because if I'd went for face there, Oaklin would still be alive. It wouldn't be an 8/11, and I wouldn't have to deal with it right now. So it just goes to show, like, little plays can make a huge difference on board. And as you can see, I'm a little confused on what I want to do here. I'm not entirely sure. I think I just go for the Gabrian Commander. I place a lake here. I place a lake next to his orb, get the Gabrian Commander down just to push damage and just put a sense of urgency on my opponent as I hit away at him. I start moving up the Enchantress to harvest Faeria, and I decided to go on the left side because I want to be able to use her to attack the 8/11 if I need to, or any other creatures that my opponent decides to play. So covering up my forest tile there next to his orb. Gabrian Commander is kind of locked in to that side of the board. You can only move on water or lake tiles. I have Frogify, but it doesn't really do anything, unfortunately. So I kind of just, I think I accept Gabrian's fate and decide to just smack him in the face again for 4. And allow him to deal with it. I ideally want it to hit the 8/5 to set up a Yak Attack next turn, but that's no guarantee. And this is what I'm trying to figure out now. Can I actually deal any damage to this 8/5? So I just have to go for the hit to the face. Could harvest Faeria this turn or go for land placement. Land placement just makes that side of the board a little bit more threatening towards my opponent. Next turn I'm going to gain 3 Faeria anyway, unless Pandora unlocks, and then I can just harvest an extra Faeria from my wheel if I need to play Yak Attack. So I go for a forest on the other side because I want to go get Primeval Colossus down pretty soon. But Pandora is still locked up, so only 3 Faeria per turn. I'm going to gather from that well as well with the Gabrian Enchantress. And he does go for the clear on the 4/2. So this champion has only really fought on board. It hasn't been able to use its effect to gather more resources for my opponent. So with 6 Faeria, there's not a tremendous amount he can do, which I will feel threatened at least. He might create some defenses to stop the pressure that I can put on him from having land so close to his orb. But I think it's a pretty tough turn for him. I think he actually goes for Imperial Guards, if I remember correctly. He goes hold the line into Imperial Guards. No, he doesn't do anything. So now Yak attack doesn't feel as good here. But I need to clear it out. I want my Yaks to do more stuff. But they can put pressure on the face at least. I really wanted to play my Primeval Colossus, but I needed to deal with the 8-1 first, so Yak attack had to come down. I push 4 damage, sorry, and deal with the 8-1. So I say it's not that great. Actually, it's fantastic. A ton of Porcupine there. So now my opponent has to deal with both Yaks, which represent lethal. I can also move my 1 Yak on the left-hand side into the middle of his orb, and then use charge, and then push my Gabrian up for a lethal. So I have Tiki Caretaker as well to buff one of my Yaks if I need to. So I do have a lot of lethal options available to me. So we'll have to see what he does in response to this. Scourge Flame Spectra. It's a little rough, because now this is pretty clever. He clears my Yak on the left, but he also blocks my Gabrian from being charged and moving up. So now I don't have lethal, which is a little unfortunate. But I do have Frogify, which is a great answer to that Scourge Flame. And the Yak can clear out the Court Jester, and then I set up lethal for next turn. I'm pretty sure that's what I go for here. I mean, I could have went for Tiki Caretaker on Gabrian and cleared the Scourge Flame that way. That is another way I could have done it. But I guess that actually would have been better, thinking about it. Because if he dropped a taunt that was a bit too threatening to deal with, too much health, I wouldn't have had Frogify. So you can see I'm just trying to work stuff out. It's always good to look over your matches because you can see all the other lines that you missed and maybe see some of the stuff that you should have played around. And this will help more in Constructed than in Pandora, but you can definitely learn something from playing Pandora. So like back then I was thinking, you know, Frogify, it deals with it, I clear it, my Enchantress stays alive, I still have the 2/2. But like I said, if he had a big taunt that I can deal with Tiki Caretaker, my Frogify wouldn't have been as good. And so that's just a different way I could have handled that. So now here he does block me once again. And I deal 2 damage to the face. And then I just drop the Wave Crash Colossus. Just drop a 7/7 right next to him. And Pandora finally opens, but a little too late for my opponent here. He has 3 Faeria. He can gain 1 more from the well. He can get 1 from his wheel as well. We'll take him up to 5. That could allow him to... But he can't last Nightmare, that's for sure. He won't have enough Faeria. He just goes for like a Wisdom and accepts defeat, I think, knowing that the 7/7 is a little too much for him to handle. So there we go. That is a victory there for my blue deck. And if you watched my Pandora guide, you would have seen that I had gained 6 wins with this deck overall. So that concludes the gameplay of my Pandora deck from my Pandora guide. And if you'd like to see more Pandora related content, be sure to go to playfaeria.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.